Okay, welcome friends once again to this program on Indes Demystified. Uh, I'm uh, I'm sure you all have had a wonderful time yesterday, and today we will continue from where we left. And so, what is the agenda that we have today? We will start the session with your questions from yesterday. So I'm sure some of you may have some questions. So I would like you to throw those questions, and I would try and answer them. And after that, we will go to the boundaries of the index game. Uh, Friends, let me tell you what it is. आपको मालूम है what is the secret of Sachin Tendulkar being such a great batsman? And let me share with you what is the secret, friends. You would have noticed whenever Sachin will enter the ground, the first thing that he would do, he would observe across the ground and see the boundary and which are the player and what is their position across the ground. And after that, in his mind, he will prepare his strategy as to what shot he is going to play and where and how. So after we take your questions, we will also look at this game of indes and as to what are the boundaries of this game. So what I am going to do in the second part here, I am going to take you through the entire gamut of indes that we have in this country. We will look at each and every index one by one from three different perspectives. The whole idea is today you should know as to what is your boundary within which you have to work. You should know which are the standards that are part of your exam syllabus and also part of the index as such which is being implemented in the country. So that is the idea. The idea is also that we should be on the same page. So I'm going to take you through all the indices one by one, give you a very brief introduction so that when we come to these indices in future one by one, you have some pre idea about them, and that will help you to understand these indices in a very simple way. And then of course we'll come to the third part, which is the framework. And if time permitting, today we will also start the first index, that is the presentation of financial statements. So friends, this is the plan that we have for today. And as always, we will bind up the session at 10 o'clock. As you can see that we have started at 8:30. So let me ask Rishikesh. Rishikesh, you can tell me as to what are the questions that some people may have asked you. You can share them with me and I would try and answer them. And once we answer those questions, then we will move forward and come to the boundaries of the index game. Okay, very good. So right now there are no questions. So no worry, friend. You can always ask your questions. You can always type your questions in the chat box, and in between, from time to time, I am going to have a break for your questions. And that time, I would request Rishikesh to read out those questions, and I would be happy to answer those questions as we move forward. So let us come to this boundary of index game, and let me tell you what does it mean. This is also going to be your roadmap for preparing for index. Now, friends, let me tell you very quickly at this point in time. Some of you would know that I have had the good fortune of passing the four exams, that is the chartered accountancy, company secretary, cost accountancy, and also of CFA. And I'm with the grace of Ma Saraswati, I'm really fortunate to have passed all the groups of all these four exams in one attempt. And what I realize that for passing these exams, you need preparation. And besides preparation, you also need a strategy. And it is going to be my endeavor that I also share those strategies with you as we discuss this subject of index uh, from time to time. एंड सो वन स्ट्रेटजी दैट आई एम शेयरिंग विद यू नाउ कि जब भी आपको कोई सब्जेक्ट की तैयारी करनी है, उसको पढ़ना है, उसको प्रिपेयर करना है, तो सबसे पहले उसके सिलेबस को केयरफुली पढ़िए। और केयरफुली पढ़ने के बाद जो भी टॉपिक है उस टॉपिक को अपने माइंड में समझ के लीजिए। इट इज़ नॉट नेसेसरी दैट योर अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ दैट टॉपिक, ऐसा ज़रूरी नहीं है कि आपकी समझ उस टॉपिक के बारे में वैसी ही हो जैसी किताब में दी गई हो। नो, नॉट नेसेसरी। आपको क्या करना है, आपको अपने दिमाग में, अपनी कल्पना से, अपनी इमेजिनेशन से ये सोचना है कि ये टॉपिक में क्या दिया होगा। और जब आप ये करेंगे तो आप देखेंगे कि जैसे ही आपने उस टॉपिक के बारे में सोचा कि ये टॉपिक के अंदर क्या दिया होगा, आपके दिमाग में उस टॉपिक के बारे में बहुत क्लैरिटी आ जाती है। और जब वो क्लैरिटी आती है और जब आप उस टॉपिक को पढ़ना शुरू करते हो तो आप देखेंगे कि आपको जो टॉपिक बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट लग रहा था, आपको एक टॉपिक जो थोड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स लग रहा था, आपको जो टॉपिक जो थोड़ा सा कंफ्यूजिंग लग रहा था, सडनली यू विल रियलाइज कि अरे ये टॉपिक तो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग है। एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट फ्रेंड्स आई एम गोइंग टू डू विद यू in the beginning now. So what is the roadmap for the preparation of the index? So what I have done, friends, for you, I have divided the entire gamut of index that we are discussing and we are preparing into three parts. So there are 39 different indices, 16 of the new series and 23 of the old series. So all of them put together 39. So these 39 indices, as you can see on the screen, are divided into three parts. The first one is presentation. That means what? That means कई सारे indices ऐसे हैं, और to be very precise, there are 14 indices that we have where the focus is on presentation. Focus is on presentation as to how the numbers are going to be presented in the profit and loss statement, in the balance sheet, and in the cash flow statement, and in the notes to accounts. So those are the 14 standards where the focus is on presentation. Then you have 15 standards where the focus, the emphasis is on financial position and P&L both. So the first one is only on presentation, and the second category which I have categorized as financial position and the P&L. So ये जो indices हैं आप देखेंगे कि इनका जो impact है वो numbers पे है. That means these indices are to have an impact either on the balance sheet or on the P&L. So and there are 15 of them. And then there is a third category, as you can see on the screen, where I have categorized some of these standards, and there are 10 of them. And you can see these 10 standards that we have, indices that we have, they are having the focus on consolidation. So this is how these 39 indices, I am categorizing them into three different categories. What is the idea? Idea ये है कि पहली बात, ये 39 स्टैंडर्ड्स जो आप देख रहे हैं आपकी स्क्रीन पर, आप समझ सकते हैं कि ये आपका रोड मैप है, यानी कि ये डिस्टेंस आपको कवर करनी है, यानी कि ये इंडेसेस को आपको समझना है। और क्यों समझना है? ताकि नंबर 1 यू आर एबल टू स्कोर वेरी गुड मार्क्स इन योर एग्जाम, एंड नंबर 2 व्हेन यू बिकम चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट, यू स्टार्ट प्रैक्टिसिंग और यू स्टार्ट वर्किंग इन द इंडस्ट्री, you are able to use this knowledge and understanding to help your company and to help your clients. So now what we are going to do is we are going to look at these standards one by one, and today we will have only the introduction. आज हम क्या करेंगे? आज हम सिर्फ ये समझेंगे कि ये जो particular index है, let's say for example we are talking about the first index that we see on the screen is index 1, and which is presentation of financial statements. तो हम क्या करेंगे आज आज हम ये सिर्फ ये समझेंगे कि ये इंडेक्स वन है किस चीज़ के बारे में, इसका फोकस कहाँ पे है, इसमें क्या क्या कवर होता है, इन ब्रीफ, नॉट इन डिटेल, इन ब्रीफ. इन डिटेल वी विल डू व्हेन वी कम टू दैट पर्टिकुलर स्टैंडर्ड. सो हम एक एक करके ये सारे स्टैंडर्ड्स लेंगे. और मैं चाहता हूँ कि जैसे जैसे मैं बढ़ रहा हूँ एक एक करके आप फुल्ली अटेंटिव रहें. और जब भी आपको लगे कि मैं कोई पॉइंट जो आपसे शेयर कर रहा हूँ आपको लगे कि वो पॉइंट आपको क्लियर नहीं है, तो प्लीज़ डू नॉट हेजिटेट, एब्सोल्युटली फील फ्री to type your query, your question, your doubt in the chat box, and it will come to me through Rishikesh, and I will ensure that your doubt is clarified here and now for your satisfaction. All right, so let's begin. The first index that we see on the screen is presentation of financial statements. तो ये starting point है index का. What is given in this index which is on presentation of financial statements, as you can see, जैसा कि आप नोटिस कर सकते हैं कि ये index is about how the financial statements are to be presented. बैलेंस शीट का फॉर्मेट क्या होगा, पी एंड एल का फॉर्मेट क्या होगा, कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट का फॉर्मेट क्या होगा, कौन सी इन्फॉर्मेशन कहाँ पर आएगी, कौन सी इन्फॉर्मेशन पी एंड एल में जाएगी, कौन सी इन्फॉर्मेशन किस फॉर्मेट में आएगी. दिस इज़ वॉट has been prescribed under this index on presentation of financial statements, which are the minimum line items that will need to be there as part of the balance sheet, which are the structure or the format or the modes in which the profit and loss statement is to be prepared. Profit and loss statement में भी there is something called as other comprehensive income, other comprehensive income. What is comprehensive income? What is other comprehensive income? What is the implication of other comprehensive income? How it is to be accounted now, and what is the statement of changes in equity? So all this is part of your index 1, which is on presentation of financial statements. And this friends is the starting standard, and it would be my recommendation to all of you that you must really have a very strong hold on this standard. You should have, of course, a strong hold on all these standards undoubtedly, but इसमें आपको और ज़्यादा जोर देना होगा. इसमें डिफाइन किया है कि करंट एसेट क्या है, करंट लाइबिलिटी क्या है, नॉन करंट एसेट क्या है, नॉन करंट लाइबिलिटी क्या है. कैन एन एसेट which is being held for more than 1 year, can it still be classified as a current asset? Now normally we would think that a current asset is one which is intended to be held for not more than 1 year, but there is a provision in index one in the index 1 where depending on the operating cycle of an asset, even if the asset is held for a period which is more than 12 months, it can still be classified as current asset in case if the operating cycle of that company is longer than 1 year. So these are the kind of questions which are answered under the presentation of financial statements. तो इसमें ये भी बताया है कि what are the elements of financial statements, कौन कौन से statement हैं, balance sheet है, profit and loss है, statement of changes in equity है, कैश फ्लो स्टेटमेंट है, नोट्स टू अकाउंट है, एंड लाइकवाइज एवरीथिंग हैज़ बीन गिवन इन the index 1, which is on presentation of financial statements, and I'm repeating it once again. Please remember, you have to have a very good handle on it. Then we go to the next one, which is statement of cash flow. Now friends, we all understand that P&L is important. We all understand balance sheet is also important. But based on my experience of industry for last 36 years, I can tell you P&L is important, no doubt about it. Balance sheet is also important, no doubt about it. But more than that, what is important is the cash flow statement or statement of cash flow. That is the most important statement. And why is that so? Because statement of cash flow tells you as to what kind of cash this business is generating. Statement of cash flow also tells you as to what is the capability, what are the abilities of this organization. to take care of his repayment obligations. And you can understand, for any business this is very very critical. किसी भी business के लिए ये बहुत ज़रूरी है that that business should have the ability to take care of its obligations. So ये cash state, the standard index 7 which is on statement of cash flow talks about the how to prepare the cash flow statement. For your benefit at this point in time, I would like to mention here. अब देखो आपके बिजनेस में जो कैश फ्लोज हैं, किस तरह के कैश फ्लोज हो सकते हैं? 3 तरह के कैश फ्लोज होते हैं. पहला है कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज़, दूसरा है कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटीज़, और तीसरा है कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटीज़. क्या फ़र्क है तीनों में? अब देखिए बहुत सिंपल है. कभी भी किसी भी टॉपिक को एक ओपन माइंड से देखिए, क्योंकि आंसर इज ऑलवेज गिवन इन द क्वेश्चन इटसेल्फ. व्हाट डू आई मीन बाय दैट? अब कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज़ का क्या मतलब है? इसका मतलब ये है द कैश फ्लो दैट द बिजनेस इज जनरेटिंग फ्रॉम इट्स ऑपरेशंस इज द कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज़. तो इसमें क्या होगा? इसमें एबिडा होगा. इसमें एबिडा के अलावा और क्या होगा? एबिडा के अलावा इसमें होगा चेंजेस इन दी वर्किंग कैपिटल. एंड प्लीज़ रिमेंबर, अब देखिए समझ के लीजिए, अगर एक बिजनेस की करंट एसेट्स, एंड व्हेन आई एम सेइंग करंट एसेट्स, एंड लेट मी फोकस इट हियर, रिमेंबर द करंट एसेट्स and the operating current assets, there is a difference. And please pay attention once again, there is a big difference between the current assets and the operating current assets. And when you talk about the working capital, you are only referring to the operating current assets. So अब देखिए, अगर एक बिजनेस की ऑपरेटिंग करंट एसेट्स एक फाइनेंशियल ईयर में 10 करोड़ से कम हो जाती हैं, इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि ये बिजनेस के पास में ऑपरेशन से 10 करोड़ कैश अवेलेबल हो गया. यस और नो? एंड आई एम श्योर यू वुड एग्री. तो लेट्स से एट द बिगनिंग ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर द कंपनी हैड द ऑपरेटिंग करंट एसेट्स टू द ट्यून ऑफ 100 करोड़. At the close of the financial year, the company has the current assets to the tune of 90 crores. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब there is a decrease in the operating current assets by 10 crore. That means what? That means 10 crore of the cash is now available from the operations of this business. So that is cash flow from the operating activities. That means what? Please pay attention. That means cash flow from the operating activities will comprise of two things. Number one is the EBITDA, and number two is the change in working capital. तो अगर decrease है working capital में, that means there is an inflow on account of the changes in the working capital. और अगर working capital बढ़ गई, there is an increase in the working capital, that means there is an outflow of cash on account of increase in the working capital. So that is your cash flow from the operating activities. Second is cash flow from the investing activities. अब देखिए अगेन बहुत सिंपल है. कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटीज़ का मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि किसी भी एसेट में, एंड व्हेन आई से किसी भी एसेट, इसका मतलब किसी एनी एसेट अदर देन योर ऑपरेटिंग वर्किंग कैपिटल एसेट्स. सो इन्वेस्टिंग कैश फ्लो फ्रॉम द इन्वेस्टिंग एक्टिविटीज़ का क्या मतलब है? कैश फ्लो विद रिगार्ड टू एनी एसेट अदर देन योर ऑपरेटिंग वर्किंग कैपिटल. तो अगर एक बिजनेस कोई एसेट खरीदता है, प्लांट एंड मशीनरी परचेज करता है, लैंड परचेज करता है, बिल्डिंग कंस्ट्रक्ट करता है, सो देयर इज अ कैश outflow on account of the investing activity, because you are investing your money into an asset, and that is why, so when you are investing your money into an asset, obviously there is an outflow. But remember, it can also happen that you are disposing of an asset. So if you are disposing on an asset, in that case what will happen? In that case there will be an inflow from the investing activities. So this is the second category of the cash flow. right, which is cash flow from the investing activities. And the third is cash flow from the financing activities. अब देखिए सीधी सी बात है, कोई भी बिजनेस अगर एसेट्स में इन्वेस्ट करेगा तो इट कैन इन्वेस्ट ओनली व्हेन इट हैज़ गॉट द मनी. एंड प्लीज़ पे अटेंशन. एंड दैट मीन्स व्हाट दैट मीन्स, अगर एक बिजनेस को एसेट्स में पैसा इन्वेस्ट करना है तो ऑब्वियसली इसके पास में पैसा होना चाहिए. वो पैसा कहाँ से आ सकता है? वो पैसा दो जगह से आ सकता है. पहली बात, दैट मनी कैन कम फ्रॉम द ऑपरेशंस. एंड इफ़ द मनी विच इज़ कमिंग फ्रॉम द ऑपरेशंस इज़ नॉट एडिक्वेट, यानी कि जो पैसा, द कैश जो कि आपको ऑपरेशन से मिल रहा है, अगर वो आपकी इन्वेस्टमेंट रिक्वायरमेंट के लिए सफिशिएंट नहीं है तो सीधी सी बात है, जो गैप है वो आपको बाहर से रेज करना पड़ेगा. तो अगर मैं छोटा सा एग्जांपल दूं आपको, तो 50-100 करोड़ का एक इन्वेस्टमेंट है आप कर रहे हैं, यू आर इन्वेस्टिंग 100 करोड़ इनटू अ प्रोजेक्ट. आपके जो इंटरनल एक्रूवल्स हैं, जो कैश फ्रॉम दी ऑपरेटिंग एक्टिविटीज़ है, वो 70 करोड़ है. आपको प्रोजेक्ट पूरा करना है तो आपको 30 करोड़ की और ज़रूरत पड़ेगी. तो ये 30 करोड़ कहाँ से आएगा? दिस 30 करोड़ विल कम फ्रॉम दी फाइनेंसिंग एक्टिविटीज़. दैट मीन्स यू विल रेज मनी फ्रॉम आउटसाइड. And when you raise money from outside, you can raise that money either by way of equity or you can raise that money by way of a debt actually. So that is your cash flow from the financing activities. तो अब देखिए, जब आप पैसा रेज कर रहे हैं, जब आप कैपिटल रेज कर रहे हैं either by way of debt instrument or by way of equity instrument, it is cash inflow from the financing activities. पर याद रखिए, जब आप लोन लेते हैं तो you have to pay back that loan. So when you pay back that loan, in that case it is going to be cash outflow from the financing activities. So this is your index 7, which is on a statement of cash flow. Of course, we will be discussing this standard like any other asset in detail. अभी मेरा मकसद ये है कि आपको थोड़ा सा अवेयर कर दूं कि ये सारे स्टैंडर्ड्स के अंदर क्या है, क्योंकि ये एक बार अंडरस्टैंडिंग आपकी क्लियर हो गई तो जब मैं ये स्टैंडर्ड्स को डिटेल में आपके साथ डिस्कस करूंगा तो आप देखेंगे, आप खुद नोटिस करेंगे कि उस समय पर आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग और आपकी ग्रेस्पिंग एकदम धमाकेदार होगी, ऐसा मेरा भरोसा है. एंड आई एम श्योर दैट विल हैपन. अब तीसरा जो स्टैंडर्ड है, विच इज़ इंडेक्स 8 एंड विच इज़ ऑन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज चेंजेस इन अकाउंटिंग एस्टिमेट्स एंड एरर्स. तो अभी बिज़नेस में बिज़नेस है तो कई बार ऐसा होता है कि आप अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज़ को चेंज करते हो, और जब आप अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज़ को चेंज करते हो तो वो चेंज का इफ़ेक्ट रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली हो सकता है, प्रोस्पेक्टिवली हो सकता है. दैट मीन्स देयर इज़ अ चेंज दैट यू आर मेकिंग इन एन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी, उसका इम्पैक्ट प्रोस्पेक्टिवली होगा, दैट मीन्स फ्यूचर से होगा, यानी कि आज के बाद से होगा, और या वो रिट्रोस्पेक्टिवली हो सकता है, यानी कि वो चेंज इन द पॉलिसी इज सच दैट द इम्पैक्ट इज गोइंग टू हैपन नॉट ओनली इन फ्यूचर बट इट इज ऑल्सो गोइंग टू इम्पैक्ट इन द पास्ट. तो उस समय आपको हाउ यू हैव टू अकाउंट फॉर दैट, दिस इज इंडेक्स 8 टेल्स यू. लाइकवाइज चेंजेस इन द अकाउंटिंग एस्टिमेट्स, हम सबको मालूम है कि in business there are certain expenses which have not happened but which are likely to happen in future, and which are likely to happen in future, but the income of these likely expenses has been earned in the current year. So as we all know, there is a concept called matching concept. And what is the matching concept? The matching concept is that expenses pertaining to an income should be recorded in the same year in which the income is recorded. So अब ये खर्चे वारंटी है, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल, या बैड डेट है, अब ये तो अगले साल में होंगे या अगले के अगले साल के बाद में होंगे, वी डू नॉट नो, बट वी नो फॉर श्योर दैट समथिंग इज गोना हैपन. तो हाउ डू वी रिकॉर्ड दोज एक्सपेंसेस? सो वी रिकॉर्ड दोज एक्सपेंसेस बाय वे ऑफ एस्टिमेट्स. तो वो एस्टिमेट्स का क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा? नाउ अगेन जस्ट टू कंटिन्यू फ्रॉम माई डिस्कशन विद यू यस्टरडे, स्टैंडर्ड्स क्यों हैं? स्टैंडर्ड्स इसलिए हैं ताकि across the board all the companies follow the same system of accounting. And why everybody should follow the same system of accounting? So that the numbers are comparable, right? And precisely for this reason there is Ind AS 8. So it tells you as to how the estimates are to be made and how the estimates are to be recorded. And then of course there can be a situation in a business when there was an error committed in accounting. So if an error has been committed in accounting in the current year, then there's no problem because you can correct it in the current year. So it gets squared up in any case. But what if you have a business has incurred an error in the earlier years? Now what do? Do you live with it or do you correct it? Of course you should correct it. So when you correct it, what is going to be the impact of this correction? How that impact will need to be recorded in the books? That is what Ind AS 8 tells us, friends. And this is what you need to understand and remember. And I am sure I am trying to keep it in as simple words as possible. तो मेरी कोशिश है कि मैं जो भी आपसे बताऊं इतने सिंपल वर्ड्स में बताऊं ताकि आप उसको आसानी से ग्रेस्प कर सकें और आपकी मेमोरी में उसको रजिस्टर कर सकें. तो जो हम Ind AS 8 की बात करेंगे डिटेल में, तब आई एम श्योर ये दिस विल हेल्प यू. Then you have Ind AS 810 which is on events after the reporting period. तो क्या होता है बिजनेस में? Let's say for example in India the financial year ends on 31st March every year. लेकिन ऐसा हो सकता है कि 31st मार्च को साल ख़त्म हो गया, लेकिन साल ख़त्म होने के बाद बिफोर द अकाउंट्स वर ड्रॉन एंड अडॉप्टेड एंड अप्रूव्ड समथिंग हैपेंड इन द बिजनेस. सो अब ये जो समथिंग हैज़ हैपेंड इन द बिजनेस, अब सवाल ये है कि ये 31 मार्च के बाद में हुआ है, तो इसका इम्पैक्ट बुक्स में लेना चाहिए कि नहीं लेना चाहिए. तो ऐसे ट्रांजैक्शंस को द स्टैंडर्ड्स द Ind AS 10 ऑन इवेंट्स आफ्टर द रिपोर्टिंग पीरियड, इट पुट्स इनटू टू कैटेगरीज, एडजस्टिंग एंड नॉन एडजस्टिंग. एडजस्टिंग यानी कि देयर इज अ कैटेगरी ऑफ द इवेंट्स विच विल फॉल इनटू द एडजस्टिंग कैटेगरी. मतलब क्या है इसका? इसका मतलब है कि ये इवेंट को आपको आपके बुक्स में एडजस्ट करना चाहिए. नॉन एडजस्टिंग इवेंट यानी कि इस इवेंट को आपको करंट ईयर के बुक्स में एडजस्ट करने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. सो दिस इज़ द बैकग्राउंड. आई एम श्योर फ्रेंड्स इट विल हेल्प यू एज वी मूव फॉरवर्ड. सो ये है, दिस इज़ द सम एंड सब्सटेंस ऑफ Ind AS 10 on events after the reporting period. Then of course we come to Ind AS 24 which is on related party disclosures. Now friends मैं आपको बताऊं और ध्यान से आप इसको देखिए. What it is saying? It is saying related party disclosures. इसका मतलब ये है कि ऐसा नहीं है कि Ind AS 24 is telling you that as a business you cannot do transactions with the related party. एज ए मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट अगर आप कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 को भी स्टडी करें तो भी आपके ध्यान में आएगा, इवन द कंपनीज एक्ट डज नॉट टेल यू दैट अ बिजनेस कैन नॉट डू ट्रांजैक्शंस विद द रिलेटेड पार्टीज. देयर इज नो रेस्ट्रिक्शन व्हाटसोएवर एज फार एज डूइंग ट्रांजैक्शन विद द रिलेटेड पार्टीज आर कंसर्न्ड. यू कैन वेरी वेल डू इट, बट देयर इज अ कंडीशन. एंड व्हाट इज द कंडीशन? द कंडीशन इज दैट देयर मस्ट बी appropriate disclosures made at the appropriate time and those disclosures should be made at the appropriate places. क्यों? अब अगेन द सेम कॉन्टेक्स्ट जो मैंने आप कल कहा था कि देयर इज अ सेपरेशन ऑफ ओनरशिप एंड द मैनेजमेंट. जो बिजनेस को ओन करता है वो कहीं और है, और वो जो बिजनेस को ओन करता है वो बिजनेस चलाता नहीं है, और जो बिजनेस चलाता है वो बिजनेस को ओन नहीं करता है. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है कि जो बिजनेस को चला रहा है, जिसके हाथ में कंट्रोल है, वो बिजनेस के उस कंट्रोल का किसी सिचुएशन में मिसयूज़ कर सकता है. तो वो मिसयूज़ ना हो, इसके लिए Ind AS 24, इसके लिए देयर इज अ प्रोविजन इन द कंपनीज एक्ट टू एंश्योर दैट द प्रॉपर डिस्क्लोजर्स आर मेड. एंड रिमेंबर, जब डिस्क्लोजर में होते हैं तो ऑटोमेटिकली देयर इज अ सेंस ऑफ रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, देयर इज अ सेंस ऑफ फियर that if you do something wrong, it's going to be caught, and if it is going to be caught, then you're going to be punished. So that is your Ind AS 24, which is related party disclosures. That means which are the parties which are supposed to be the related parties, which are the transactions which are supposed to be the transactions falling into the category of related party transactions. So this is what Ind AS 24 is going to focus. आप देखिए, आप समझ सकते हैं कि ये प्रेजेंटेशन के ग्रुप में क्यों आ रहा है, क्योंकि इसका P&L पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है. रिलेटेड पार्टी डिस्क्लोजर्स का P&L पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है, रिलेटेड पार्टी डिस्क्लोजर्स का बैलेंस शीट पे कोई इम्पैक्ट नहीं है, बिकॉज वो ट्रांजैक्शन जो है वो है, पर प्रेजेंटेशन पे इसका इम्पैक्ट है. शेयर होल्डर एज द ओनर ऑफ द कंपनी हैज़ अ राइट टू नो as to what are the related party transactions that have taken place. So if he reads them, he can come to an understanding कि भाई ये जो हुआ है वो सही हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ है, और अगर सही नहीं हुआ है, then he of course can raise his voice as the part owner of the company. Then we have Ind AS 29, which is on financial reporting in hyperinflationary economies. Now, what is this actually? Let me give you an example. ये क्या है? ये जो स्टैंडर्ड है, ये स्टैंडर्ड उन कंट्रीज़ के लिए है जहाँ पर इन्फ्लेशन इज़ एक्सट्रीमली हाई. So if I can quote you, Venezuela is a country where the inflation is so high that even if you have to buy a cup of tea, you have to carry such a big bundle of the local currency to buy that cup of tea. तो इन्फ्लेशनरी इकोनॉमीज़ में किस तरह से अकाउंटिंग होनी चाहिए, इसके बारे में है ये Ind AS 29. Now Ind AS 29, as I was reading the syllabus for your exam, I see that Ind AS 29 is not there, so to my understanding, and but just to give the background कि ये Ind AS 29 is about financial reporting in hyperinflationary economies like Venezuela and many other countries have had experienced a very hyperinflation in the past. Argentina was one country at one point in time. Indonesia was another. There was few years back, I am sure you would remember, there was a crisis in these tiger something like what we call them, and that's where it would be applicable, that is Ind AS 29, right? Then we come to Ind AS 32, which is on financial instruments presentation. So financial instrument will mean every financial instrument that you can think of in the context of your business. So it can be a debt instrument, it can be an equity instrument, it can be a derivative instrument. So all the instruments which are applicable in case of any business, now those instruments have to be presented in the books of accounts in a manner so that a reader of the annual report or reader of the accounts of the company is able to come to a definite conclusion, or he has clarity with regard to the liabilities or the assets of the company as a shareholder. So that is your Ind AS 32 that talks about how do you present the financial instruments in the books of accounts, and that is what we're going to cover in detail. This is very, very important Ind AS, having very wide application, and therefore we will focus on. Then we come to Ind AS 33, which is on earning per share. Now what is, again, as you can see, it is not impacting the P&L, it is not impacting the balance sheet, it is only a disclosure. So typically how do you calculate the earning per share? Is very simple. You divide the profit after tax by the number of shares outstanding on the date of the balance sheet, and that gives you earning per share. In case if the company has got preference shares also, in that case what you do, in that case you need to modify this formula slightly. So how do you modify this formula slightly? So from the profit after tax you will minus the amount of dividend which is payable on the preference share capital, and so profit after tax minus the dividend payable in respect of the preference shares, that becomes the profit which is available to the shareholders, and you divide this figure, this profit, which is available for the benefit of the shareholders by the number of outstanding equity shares, and this will give you your simple earning per share. But remember, in a business, things are not as simple always. So many times, a business would have issued certain convertible instruments. So, what is a convertible instruments? As we all know, it is possible that a company would have spent convertible debenture, convertible preference share, or the company may have signed a contract with a lender where the lender has a right to convert the debt into equity. These are the things which need to be taken into account, because अब आप समझ सकते हैं कि अगर किसी कंपनी ने कन्वर्टिबल्स इश्यू किए हैं तो उसकी सिंपल अर्निंग पर शेयर को देखना थोड़ा सा आपको सही इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं देगा. क्यों सही इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं देगा? क्योंकि उसकी जो अर्निंग पर शेयर है उसको मॉडिफाई करके कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा, जिसको बोलते हैं डाइल्यूटेड अर्निंग पर शेयर. नाउ व्हाट इज डाइल्यूटेड अर्निंग पर शेयर फ्रेंड्स? अगेन इज वेरी सिंपल. सो अब आप क्या करोगे कि आपका जो प्रॉफिट, नॉर्मल प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स है, आप उस नॉर्मल प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स को एडजस्ट करोगे. किस चीज़ के लिए एडजस्ट करोगे? कि assuming all the convertibles that you have outstanding on the date of the balance sheet, वो सारे जो कन्वर्टिबल्स आपने इशू किए हैं, आप अस्यूम करेंगे that they are all converted into equity based on the terms of that particular instrument. Now इसका मतलब क्या होगा? इसका मतलब ये होगा कि आपका प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स बढ़ जाएगा. क्यों बढ़ जाएगा? क्योंकि ये कन्वर्टिबल को आपने इक्विटी में कन्वर्ट कर दिया. इसका मतलब इन कन्वर्टिबल पर अब आपको इंटरेस्ट देने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. तो अगर आप इंटरेस्ट नहीं देंगे तो ऑब्वियसली उससे आपका प्रॉफिट बढ़ जाएगा. एंड यू एडजस्ट दैट इंक्रीज्ड प्रॉफिट बाय द अमाउंट ऑफ टैक्स. तो योर नोशनल your notional profit after tax would have increased by the amount of interest minus the tax applicable on that increased interest. Correspondingly, and I'm sure आप समझ सकते हैं बड़ी आसानी से, correspondingly ये जो आपका denominator है, the number of outstanding equity shares will also increase, because जो convertible को आपने assume कर लिया कि भाई they have been converted into equity, तो जितने नंबर से equity shares बढ़ गए उतने नंबर से आपकी outstanding equity shares का नंबर बढ़ जाएगा. So this is how you will calculate the diluted EPS, right? And this is so the Index 33, which is on earning per share, talks about all this, and we would see it in more detail. And at this point in time, friends, as I'm saying once again, my whole objective is कि ये सारे के सारे जो इंडेक्स आप देख रहे हो आपकी स्क्रीन पे, वो आपके दिमाग में पूरी तरह से क्लियर हो जाएं कि भैया इस इंडेक्स का क्या मतलब, इस इंडेक्स का क्या मतलब है. Then of course you got Index 34, which is interim financial reporting. So अब इसका क्या मतलब है? सिंपल सी बात है, interim financial reporting. इसका मतलब a reporting of financial reporting which is done during the financial year, or which is done before the final reporting, that is if the annual report is printed and given to the shareholders. Before that, whatever reporting that you do, that is referred as interim financial reporting. So say for example a listed company है, the listed company has to release the quarterly results every quarter, तो उसके लिए that is financial reporting. It is possible that in between, during the financial year, company is trying to raise money, so for that it will have to prepare the financials. So this is again going to be interim financial reporting. तो Index 34 which is on interim financial reporting, ये आपको क्या बताता है? ये आपको बताता है कि अगर आपकी कंपनी ड्यूरिंग दी फाइनेंशियल ईयर कुछ रिपोर्टिंग कर रही है या कुछ ऐसा कर रही है जिसकी वजह से दैट इट विल फॉल इनटू द कैटेगरी ऑफ, इट विल फॉल इनटू द परव्यू ऑफ इंडेक्स 34 ऑन इंटरम फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग. तो वो जो फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग है वो किस तरह से की जाएगी? उसमें प्रोविजंस किस तरह से लिए जाएंगे, उसमें स्टेटमेंट किस तरह से लिए जाएंगे, उसमें डिस्क्लोजर किस तरह से किए जाएंगे, वो ऑल दैट इज योर इंडेस 34 which is on interim financial reporting. Friends, I am sure that you are able to understand whatever I am discussing with you. So before I move forward, what I am going to do is I am going to take a break for a couple of minutes and ask Rishikesh in case if he has got any question, and he can pass it on to me. I will take those questions, and after that we will move forward. So Rishikesh, any question from anyone? Okay, very good. Or they are not understanding at all. Okay, hopefully they are understanding perfectly. Okay, very good. Okay, so then you have Index 102, which is share based payments. अब देखिए क्या है शेयर बेस्ड पेमेंट्स. बहुत सिंपल है. स्वीट एक्विटी है, ठीक है, प्रमोटर है या कोई टेक्निकल एक्सपर्ट है जो कंपनी को ज्वाइन कर रहा है, एंड ही हैज़ गिवन हिज नॉलेज एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड यू नो व्हाट नॉट टू द कंपनी ऑलरेडी. Company wants to issue share to this person in exchange of the knowledge that he has given to the company. So all these kind of transactions which are share based payments will fall into the category of Index 102. So share based payments यानी कि जहाँ पर shares का इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है in the form of a payment, that is your share based payments. So Index 102 is going to be about that. Then of course you got an Index 106 which is exploration for and evaluation of mineral resources. अब आप समझ सकते हैं कि जैसा कि टाइटल है, Index 106 is pertaining to exploration for and evaluation of mineral resources. So this Index 106 is applicable more in case of the mining companies. सो माइनिंग कंपनीज के पास में मिनरल रिसोर्सेज होते हैं बिकॉज दे हैव द राइट्स ऑफ माइनिंग in different geographies, and so this would be applicable to all the steel companies, you know, who would own their own mines, or any company for that matter that would have their own mining. So 106 it talks in terms of as to how the accounting or the presentation has to be done in respect of such mining companies, and how those mineral resources are to be evaluated. Remember, mineral resources, you know, one can only estimate as to how much it is. One can never be sure as to how much exactly it is. So ultimately what is the objective? Ultimately the objective is you should be able to present your books of accounts in a way so that it gives you fairly, more accurately, as accurately as possible, the correct picture. So that is Index 106. Then of course we come to again Index 107, which is again on financial instruments, but now it is talking about the disclosure. So Index 32, which is on financial instruments, it talks about the presentation as to how do you present different instruments, different financial instruments in your balance sheet, and Index 107 talks about disclosure. So what kind of disclosures do you have to make with regard to the financial instruments that the company that you are working for or the company that you are advising is having those instruments? So that is your Index 107, and this Index 107 is going to cover different disclosures. So क्या disclosures हैं जो कि आपको देने पड़ेंगे in your books of accounts? और क्यों देने पड़ेंगे? जैसा कि कल हमने डिस्कस किया था, वो इसलिए देने पड़ेंगे ताकि जो ओनर है, जो शेयर होल्डर है, जो कि डे टू डे बिजनेस को नहीं देखता है, उसको समझ में आना चाहिए कि कंपनी की फाइनेंशियल पोजीशन एज रिगार्ड्स टू द इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, फाइनेंशियल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स, व्हाट इट इज एक्चुअली. सो दी शुड हैव दैट क्लैरिटी. Then of course you have Index 108, which is about the operating segments. अब देखिए अगेन अब इसका लॉजिक समझ लीजिए कि वाई 108 ऑपरेटिंग सेगमेंट. जैसा कि मैंने कल कहा था कि पुराने ज़माने में कंपनियां छोटी हुआ, बिज़नेस छोटे हुआ करते थे. तो छोटे यानी कि एक बिज़नेस है, एक ही एक्टिविटी है, और एक ही एक्टिविटी है तो कोई कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी नहीं है और कोई इशू नहीं है, बात ख़त्म हो गई. बट आज सिचुएशन डिफरेंट है. आज एक एक बिज़नेस के मल्टीपल वर्टिकल्स हैं. सो एक कंपनी है, वो आईटी में भी है, वो फूड प्रोसेसिंग में भी है, वो इंजीनियरिंग में भी है, वो इट इज़ इनटू number of products. Now it is not only into number of products in terms of products, but it is also number of geographies. अब समझ के लीजिए, एज एन इन्वेस्टर, एज एन ओनर, विल यू बी हैप्पी कि ये कंपनी आपको प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस दे और बैलेंस शीट भी दे, लेकिन कैसे दे कि सारी ज्योग्राफीज और सारे प्रोडक्ट्स जितने भी हैं कंपनी के, वो सब एक ही स्टेटमेंट में आपको दे दे? एज अ डिसर्निंग इन्वेस्टर, विल इट सेटिस्फाई यू? आई एम श्योर आपका आंसर होगा नहीं। क्यों? क्योंकि अगर एक कंपनी के 10 सेगमेंट्स हैं और अगर वो 10 सेगमेंट का अगर मुझे इकट्ठा करके P&L दे दिया, बैलेंस शीट दे दिया, तो मुझे कंपनी की एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस मालूम नहीं पड़ेगी। क्यों मालूम नहीं पड़ेगी? क्योंकि हो सकता है कि ये 10 में से एक सेगमेंट है बहुत बढ़िया कर रहा है, 9 सेगमेंट हैं लॉस कर रहे हैं। तो अगर मुझे कंसोलिडेटेड पिक्चर आएगी तो मुझे ध्यान में नहीं आएगा कि 9 सेगमेंट्स लॉस कर रहे हैं, और इसका मतलब आई विल नॉट बी एबल टू कम टू अ राइट डिसीजन। लेकिन अगर मुझे ऑपरेटिंग सेगमेंट वाइज रिपोर्टिंग मिलती है, एज एन इन्वेस्टर, एज अ शेयर होल्डर, एज ए ओनर ऑफ द कंपनी, अगर मेरे पास रिपोर्ट आती है कि कंपनी के 10 सेगमेंट हैं, 10 सेगमेंट की क्या प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी है, देन आई कैन टेक अ बेटर डिसीजन। सो अगर 10 का सेगमेंट हैं, 9 लॉस कर रहे हैं, 7 लॉस कर रहे हैं, 5 लॉस कर रहे हैं, तो एज अ डिसर्निंग इन्वेस्टर आई कैन से the ones which are making losses, either find out as to how they can start making profit, and if it is not possible to make them profitable, then the best thing is to close those segments, because if nothing else, you will be able to gaining the amount of loss that you are incurring today. And so that is your operating segment. So index 108 is on the operating segment. तो वो आपको बताता है कि सेगमेंट्स को कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करना है। सो व्हाट आर द पैरामीटर्स, व्हाट आर द क्राइटेरिया, राइट, एंड what kind of reporting has to be done with regard to each of these operating segments. So that is your index 108. And then of course you got index 113, which is on fair value measurement. अब देखिए दोस्तों, इंडेक्स and fair value measurement go hand in hand. As a matter of fact, when you talk in terms of index, fair value measurement comes in a very big way. So index यानी कि fair value, जैसा कि हम कल बात कर रहे थे, क्योंकि जैसा हम yesterday we were discussing, today it is realized कि अगर मेरी एसेट आज की तारीख में 10 करोड़ की है, हिस्टोरिकली 1 करोड़ की है, एक्चुअल में आज की तारीख में उसकी फेयर मार्केट वैल्यू, फेयर वैल्यू 10 करोड़ की है, तो इट इज़ बेटर टू शो दिस एसेट इन माई बुक्स एट 10 करोड़, बिकॉज देन ओनली माई बैलेंस शीट विल शो द करेक्ट पोजिशन एक्चुअली। तो उसके लिए देर इज़ अ सेपरेट स्टैंडर्ड विच इज़ इंडेक्स 113, विच इज़ ऑन फेयर वैल्यू मेजरमेंट। अब ये इंडेक्स 113 आपको क्या बताता है? ये इंडेक्स 113 आपको बताता है कि किस सिचुएशन में किस तरह से आप किसी एसेट की या किसी लायबिलिटी की फेयर वैल्यू डिटरमिन करोगे। और आप देखेंगे फ्रेंड्स कि जैसे जैसे आप आगे बढ़ेंगे और जब आप इंडस्ट्री में आएंगे या जब आप प्रैक्टिस में आएंगे, तो आपको ध्यान में आएगा कि फेयर वैल्यू measurement today is becoming very very critical. So index 113 talks in terms of 3 different levels for the measurement of fair value. So the first level is a quoted price. So in case if a stock that you're talking about, in case if a company that you're talking about, it is listed on a stock exchange, right? So the quoted price with certain parameters, that becomes the fair value of a company. Then second situation is level 2. So level 2 में क्या है? Level 2 में the company is not listed on a stock exchange, but there is some observable information available. सो लेवल 2 वुड से कि इस कंपनी की फेयर वैल्यू कैसे मेजर करोगे, इस कंपनी की फेयर वैल्यू मेजर करोगे बाय ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ द observable information which is available with regard to this particular asset or this particular company. And then level 3 is the last one, and that is in case the company is not listed on the stock exchange nor the observable information is available about this company, then what you have to do, you still have to find out the fair value. So then what you do, then you use the unobservable input available. That means you try and gather whatever information that you can gather about this company, this asset, and use it for finding out the fair value. And this is your index 113 which is on fair value measurement. अब मैं यहाँ पे फ्रेंड्स आपको एक बात ज़रूर बताना चाहूँगा कि ये फेयर वैल्यू है क्या. अगर मैं आपसे फेस टू फेस बात करता तो मैं आपसे सबसे पहले पूछता कि आप मुझे बताओ कि फेयर वैल्यू क्या है. लेकिन ये आपको समझना बहुत ज़रूरी है फेयर वैल्यू का मतलब क्या है, क्योंकि मुझे मालूम है लोगों के दिमाग में फेयर वैल्यू के बारे में बहुत कन्फ्यूज़न है. सो फेयर वैल्यू इज़ वेरी सिंपल. लुक एट द वर्ड फेयर एंड वैल्यू. क्या मतलब है? एक वैल्यू जो कि फेयर है, दैट इज़ फेयर वैल्यू. दैट मीन्स इस वैल्यू में कुछ अदर देन the value, there is no other consideration. So a price which is agreed between two knowledgeable parties, and when the transaction is being done at the arm's length, and there is no consideration, and both the parties are willing to do the transaction, and this price at which they do the transaction, it becomes fair value. यानी कि इस वैल्यू में कोई फोर्स नहीं है, कोई दबाव नहीं है, कोई जोर ज़बरदस्ती नहीं है, दोनों अपनी मर्जी से ये ट्रांजैक्शन को कर रहे हैं. एंड दैट इज़ द फेयर वैल्यू. सच्ची कीमत क्या है उसकी? फेयर यानी कि सच्ची, वैल्यू यानी कीमत. सच्ची कीमत क्या है? एंड आपको समझना है फेयर वैल्यू, क्योंकि आप जब बैलेंस शीट बनाएंगे आपकी बैलेंस शीट हैज़ टू बी बेस्ड on the fair value. And index 113, when we talk about, this is what we are going to discuss under different situations. How do you measure the fair value? And then of course now we shift to the second category, and the second category is relating to the balance sheet and P&L. Balance sheet and P&L, and उसमें सबसे ऊपर आता है, आप देख सकते हैं स्क्रीन के ऊपर, इंडेक्स 2 which is about the inventory. अब देखिए फ्रेंड्स, आप समझ सकते हैं वाई इज़ देयर अ नीड टू हैव अ सेपरेट स्टैंडर्ड ऑन इन्वेंट्रीज. एंड द रीज़न बिहाइंड इज़ वेरी सिंपल. इन मोस्ट ऑफ द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, material cost is the major cost. As much as in certain cases, the material cost may be as high as 67%. क्या मतलब है इसका? इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर एक बिजनेस मेक्स अ मिस्टेक इन द अकाउंटिंग ऑफ इस इन्वेंट्री, दैट मीन्स इट इज़ मेकिंग ए डायरेक्ट मिस्टेक इन इस प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस एंड इस बैलेंस शीट. एंड दैट इज़ द रीज़न वाई वी हैव इंडेक्स 2 which is on inventories. So this index 2 which is on inventories, it talks about what? It talks about कि कौन सा मेथड फॉलो करना चाहिए फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ इन्वेंट्री अकाउंटिंग. इट टॉक्स अबाउट what is the net realizable value. It talks about कि can you write down value of your inventory, and that of course is understood because अगर आपको मालूम है the market price and the net realizable value, if the market price, the price at which you bought the inventory and the net realizable value, lower of the two has to be taken as the value of the inventory in your books. तो अगर ये कम हो गई है तो you have to write down the inventory in your books. That is fine. But what is important is, can you write back the inventories? And the answer is yes. You can, if the prices have gone up subsequently, you can of course write back the write down that you did earlier, but it cannot be more than the amount that you wrote back earlier. So all this is covered in Index 2. And at this point in time, my request to all of you is to understand as to the importance of Index 2. क्यों जरूरी है and Index 2 इसलिए जरूरी है क्योंकि in many of the manufacturing organizations the inventory cost can be as high as 40 to 70%. If inventory cost is going to be as high as 40 to 70%, that means what? That means a slight mistake in the accounting of inventory can make your profit and loss completely go out of control. And just to ensure that you follow Index 2 and thereby ensure that there is a proper accounting of inventory, thereby proper accounting of your P&L. Then you have Index 12, which is on इनकम टैक्सेस. अब देखिए फ्रेंड्स, ये इंडेक्स 12 की ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी. और आप नोट कर रहे होंगे कि मैं हर बार जब भी कोई इंडेक्स की चर्चा आपसे करता हूँ तो पहले मैं आपको ये बोलता हूँ कि उसकी ज़रूरत क्यों पड़ी और उसके पीछे कारण क्या है. उसके पीछे कारण ये है कि एक बार ये समझ में आ जाए कि ये इंडेक्स क्यों आया है तो उसके प्रोविजंस को समझना आसान हो जाता है. बिकॉज देन यू आर एबल टू कनेक्ट द प्रोविजंस विद द पर्पस फॉर विच द इंडेक्स हैज बीन ब्रॉट इनटू एग्जिस्टेंस. अब देखिए, हम सबको मालूम है कंपनीज एक्ट है और इनकम टैक्स एक्ट है. एज फार एज द टैक्स लायबिलिटी इज कंसर्न, द टैक्स लायबिलिटी इज कंप्यूटेड एज पर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द इनकम टैक्स एंड नॉट एज पर द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कंपनीज एक्ट. एंड देयरफॉर हम सभी समझ सकते हैं कि विद रिगार्ड टू सर्टेन ट्रांजैक्शंस the permissibility of an expense, it is not going to be uniform as per the Companies Act and as per the Income Tax Act. That means certain expenses which are debited to P&L as per the Companies Act, those expenses may not be allowed as per the Income Tax Act. Or in certain cases, certain expenses normally would have been allowed under the Income Tax Act, but because they were not paid in the same financial year, they may still may not be allowed. So that means what? That means the income tax liability as per the Companies Act and as per the income tax would be different, and that has to reflect appropriately in the P&L that you are presenting to the shareholders, ताकि shareholders को ध्यान में आए कि भाई actual tax liability कितनी है. So it is possible that the actual tax liability is higher and it is broken into two components as the deferred tax and the current tax. But prior to Index 12, what the P&L would take, it would take only the current tax and not the deferred tax. And that means what? And please pay attention, that means अगर deferred tax को P&L में नहीं लिया तो इसका इफेक्ट क्या होगा? इसका इफेक्ट ये होगा कि वो साल का जो प्रॉफिट आफ्टर टैक्स है वो ज़्यादा दिखाई देगा. और अगर वो ज़्यादा दिखाई देगा तो वो जो P&L को रीडर है, जो P&L को पढ़ रहा है, व्हाट इंप्रेशन ही वुड गैदर कि ये कंपनी की प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी बहुत अच्छी है. नाउ दैट आई एम श्योर यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड, that is a misleading situation. So to correct that misleading situation, you have Index 12, which is on income tax. And so what you do, you now account the income tax in terms of the current tax and in terms of the deferred tax. And that is how the total tax with regard to the profit of that year is taken into account. And therefore the profit after tax gives you a correct picture of the profit of that year. So that's your income tax, and just to give you the background, and I'm sure this background will help you when we come to the Index 12 on the income tax. Then you have Index 16, which is on property, plant and equipment. So again, it talks about depreciation. It talks about componentization of the asset. So it is possible that in certain cases an asset may comprise of two major components, and these two major components may have different lives. So if both these components have different lives, then the depreciation on should be calculated not this as one asset but into two different components, and that is componentization of depreciation. So and this is what the index on property, plant and equipment would talk about, and it would also talk about many other things. Let's say, for example, it would talk about the maintenance expense that may be incurred. So remember, the maintenance expense that can be incurred in business can be of two type. Number one, maintenance expense, which are routine maintenance expense. You can also call them OPEX. So which means what? Which means if this maintenance expense is not incurred, the asset will not operate, or the efficiency of the asset will go down, or the machine will conk off. There is second category of the maintenance expense. So that this expense can increase the life of the asset. It can increase yield of the asset. It can increase productivity of the asset. So these capital expenditures that you're incurring, mind you, are not the routine one. These are non-routine one, and these are to be classified as capex maintenance. That means what? That means these expenses you will not take to P&L. These expenses you will add to the value of the asset, and of course charge depreciation on that. So that is your Index 16, which is on property, plant and equipment. Then of course you have Index 19, which is on employee benefits. So there are many benefits, as we all know, which are extended by companies to their employees with regard to their retirement. So how do you do the accounting of those benefits given to the employees in the books? Index 19 talks about all those different employee benefits. It may be superannuation, it may be leave encashment, it may be provident fund, any benefit for that matter, which would be extended by a company to its employees. That is your Index 19. Then of course you have Index 20, which is accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance. So we all know this very well. Across the country, the government, with a view to promote industrialization, will give all kinds of incentives to the industries to ensure that the industries do not concentrate in big cities, but they go to backward areas. So for that, the government will give a capital incentive, or they might also give the tax benefits, and those tax benefits can be in the form of deferral, or the tax benefits can be in the form of exemption, and there can be many other grants or assistance that would be given by the governments to the businesses. तो वो जो ग्रांट है, वो जो असिस्टेंस है, उसकी रिकॉर्ड अकाउंटिंग कैसे होनी चाहिए? Index 20 talks about that. Index 20 talks about that, and you can understand if a grant, if assistance received from the government, if it is to be paid back, obviously it cannot be accounted for in the books as income, because this is a liability which has to be paid back. So how all these accountings are to be done, and again, using the government grant, you're buying an asset. So the question would arise, asset is worth 100 crore, government is giving you assistance of 20 crore. So depending on the nature of the assistance of this 20 crore that you are getting from the government, you will need to decide as to at what amount you need to show the asset in your books. Should you show it at 100 crore, or should you show it at 80 crore? So this clarity comes from the Index 20, which is on accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance. Then you have Index 21, which is on the effects of changes in foreign exchange rates. Again, friends, gone are the days when the businesses will be small and confined to a particular geography. Today, what you have? Today you have all kinds of combinations, all meaning absolutely all kinds of combinations. So you have businesses outside which are running as a branch. You have companies outside which are operating as your subsidiary, or you have made investment into some other companies outside, or there are companies from outside are investing in here in India, एंड वाइस वर्सा. सो ऑब्वियसली अगर आप ने एक फुली ओन सब्सिडरी बाहर स्टार्ट करी है, आउटसाइड इंडिया स्टार्ट करी है, या एक नॉर्मल सब्सिडरी आपने स्टार्ट करी है, तो उसकी जो इनकम है इट इज़ गोइंग टू बी रिकॉर्डेड इन द बुक्स of that company in that country into the local currency. So how do you record that benefit, that profit, that loss, that asset in your books? How do you convert those amounts in your books in terms of your own currency? That is what is all covered under the Ind AS 21, which is on the effects of changes in foreign exchange, and I'm sure you can understand it can have significant impact on the profitability of your business. As a matter of fact, अगर आप देखेंगे OCI, other comprehensive income, out of all the components that it has, one of the major component is gains or losses from the forex transactions. Okay, then you go to Ind AS 23. Ind AS 23 is about the borrowing cost. क्या है ये? अब देखिए, बोरोइंग कॉस्ट सिंपली तो बहुत सिंपल है. आपने एक लोन लिया, लोन के ऊपर आप इंटरेस्ट दे रहे हैं, एंड दैट इंटरेस्ट इज योर बोरोइंग कॉस्ट. तो नॉर्मल कोर्स में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, इज़ परफेक्टली फाइन. आपने लोन लिया, ठीक है, और नॉर्मल लोन है, वर्किंग कैपिटल का लोन है, और वर्किंग कैपिटल का लोन आपने लिया, तो जो भी आप इंटरेस्ट भरोगे वो आपके P&L में चला जाएगा, कोई इशू नहीं है. लेकिन there can be another situation. What is another situation? You are procuring a qualifying asset by taking debt. So until the time this qualifying asset that you are procuring becomes operational, becomes commercially encashed, तो इसके ऊपर जो आप इंटरेस्ट भर रहे हो, दिस इंटरेस्ट यू डू नॉट हैव टू टेक टू योर P&L. दिस इंटरेस्ट यू विल बी एबल टू कैपिटलाइज. एंड वाई यू विल बी एबल टू कैपिटलाइज दिस इंटरेस्ट? बिकॉज दिस इंटरेस्ट दैट यू आर इनकरिंग is not on the operations, rather it is on the procurement of that asset. So this interest which you are paying on this loan that you have taken for procuring a qualifying asset, this interest will be capitalized and added to the value of the asset instead of taking this amount to P&L. and I am sure आप समझ सकते हैं कि अगर आप ये इंटरेस्ट को P&L में दिखाएंगे तो आपका P&L डिस्टॉर्ट हो जाएगा. क्यों डिस्टॉर्ट हो जाएगा? क्योंकि आप इंटरेस्ट दिखा रहे हो with regard to an asset which is not put to use commercially. So it will be incorrect. And so Ind AS 23, which is on borrowing cost, talks about all this कि भाई किस सिचुएशन में आप इंटरेस्ट को कैपिटलाइज कर सकते हो, कब कर सकते हो, कब तक क्यों कर सकते हो, क्यों कर सकते हो, क्यों करना चाहिए, and all that actually. Then you got a Ind AS 36, which is on impairment. Now friends, I am sure you must be quite familiar with this term as to what is impairment. तो हम सभी को मालूम है there is something called depreciation and there is something called amortization. What is depreciation? Depreciation is normal wear and tear in case of a tangible asset. What is amortization? Again, amortization is the cost that you record in your books with regard to in an intangible asset for its use in your business. So your depreciation or amortization are the normal charges that you will debit to your P&L. But sometimes you can have a very different situation. What different situation? Different situation कि एक asset की value suddenly for some reason goes down substantially. So goes down substantially meaning what? Meaning the reduction in the value of the asset is much more than the amount of depreciation. So this excess amount over and above the depreciation is referred as impairment, यानी कि आपकी एसेट की वैल्यू इतने से कम हो गई. नाउ आप डेप्रिसिएशन चार्ज कर रहे हो तो आप तो डेप्रिसिएशन की रिक्वायरमेंट फुलफिल कर रहे हो, should you do something about this impairment? My question to you, and I'm sure your answer will be yes, we have to do something about this impairment. And what we have to do something about this impairment has to be taken in the P&L of the books. It has to be debited to P&L. Why? Because अगर एक asset की value is impaired by 10 crore, that means I have suffered a loss of 10 crore. That means this loss of 10 crore has to reflect in my P&L. That means this asset has to reflect at a value which is lower by 10 crores in my balance sheet. If I don't do it, I will not be doing right accounting, because then my accounts will not be reflecting the correct position. Again, as we talked about Ind AS 2 inventories, when you record an impairment, can you write back the impairment again in future? And the answer is yes. तो ये एक सिचुएशन ऐसा हो सकता है कि किसी कारण से एक साल में आप देयर वाज एन इम्पेयरमेंट इन द वैल्यू ऑफ एन एसेट बाय 10 करोड़. तो आपने वो 10 करोड़ को P&L में ले लिया, 10 करोड़ से आपने एसेट्स की वैल्यू कम करके दिखा दी, बात खत्म हो गई. फॉर सम रीजन नेक्स्ट ईयर the value of the asset again goes up. So the impairment that you recorded, that reason is no longer existing. So that means now the asset is at its normal value. So can you write back the impairment of 10 crore that you recorded in the last year? And the answer is yes, of course. So you can write back the impairment, but remember again the same thing. Whatever impairment that you write, it cannot exceed the amount of the impairment that you recorded in your books. So that is your. So we will talk about Ind AS 36 and impairment. Remember, friends, is a very important Ind AS, because it can impact the balance sheet of a company, P&L of a company in a very big way. More so in a situation like this. So COVID, the coronavirus that the whole world is experiencing today, I am sure coronavirus is going to really cause a lot of impairment problem with industries for the year 2000 for the year 1920 and also for 2021. And that is your impairment standard on Ind AS 36. Yeah, Rishikesh, you want to say something? Okay. Yep. Yeah, the reason is because these are not relevant for our purpose. तो ये आपका जो सिलेबस है ना Ind AS का, उसमें ये नहीं है. So that is the reason why they have been marked as red. And for our situation, they are not relevant in any case actually. So that is the reason why they have been marked as red. Okay, any other question, Rishikesh? Okay, very good. So good. And then of course you have Ind AS 37, which is on provisions and current liabilities and current assets. Again, very important provision, and it has got direct bearing with the Ind AS 8 that talks about accounting policies, changes in accounting estimates. So provisions, remember, is a figure which is only an estimate. So if a mistake is made in making this estimate, it can throw the profit and loss of the business for a toss. And that is why Ind AS 37, which is on provisions, current liabilities and the current contingent liabilities and the contingent assets, it becomes relevant. So how the provisions are to be recognized, how the provisions are to be recognized, or how the contingent liabilities and the contingent assets are to be recorded in the books. So this is what Ind AS 37 talks about actually, and this is what we would cover. Then you got intangible Ind AS 38, which is on intangible assets. अब मैं फ्रेंड्स आपको बताऊं कि अगर आप इंटेंजिबल एसेट की बात करो तो टिपिकली हमारे दिमाग में क्या इम्प्रेशन आता है, हमारे दिमाग में इम्प्रेशन आता है कि जनरली वर्ल्ड ओवर इंडस्ट्रीज मस्ट बी यूजिंग mostly the tangible assets, which is land, building, property, plant and equipment, and other fixed assets. But the fact of life is, across the globe, the balance sheets of different companies have a very significant component on account of intangible assets. So, intangible assets meaning what? Meaning the assets that you cannot touch, that you cannot feel, and that you cannot see, yet these assets are making a significant impact to the operations of your company. तो वो ब्रांड हो सकता है, कॉपीराइट हो सकता है, लोगो हो सकता है, टेक्नोलॉजी हो सकती है, सो मेनी ऑफ देम, कस्टमर्स लिस्ट हो सकती है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो सकते हैं, सो मेनी ऑफ देम. So how those intangibles are to be recorded, how those intangibles are to be written off, all that is covered under Ind AS 38, which is on intangible assets, and that is what we are going to spend some time and learn it. Then you got Ind AS 40, which is on investment property, right? So this, of course, is with regard to an asset which is lying with you as a property. That means this is an asset which is lying in the balance sheet of the company, and it is not an operating asset. It is an investment property. So that means this asset has got nothing to do with the operations of the company. So how do you do the accounting of the investment property? Ind AS 40 talks about that. Ind AS 41, which is on agriculture. Okay, so how do you have a company called Amazon, you have a company like ArcelorMittal, and I can tell you ArcelorMittal owns thousands of acres of forest in Brazil, as much as furnace of a steel plant of ArcelorMittal in Brazil is fired with the use of the wood from these forests. That means what? That means these forests are agriculture property of the company. How do you do the accounting of these products? Incidentally, there are companies which own biological assets also. So how do you do the recording of the biological assets in case if company owns, and how do you reflect them in the balance sheet of a company? And I know one company which is a steel company, and it owes buffaloes and cows, and which give milk, and that milk is used in the canteen of this company. So how do you record all these biological assets or these forest and things like that? Ind AS 41, which is on agriculture, talks about that actually. And then of course you got Ind AS 109, which is on financial instruments. So we have looked at Ind AS 32, which is on financial instruments presentation. We have looked at Ind AS 107, which is financial instrument disclosure. And then you have the main Ind AS 109, which is on financial instruments. So different kind of financial instruments with embedded derivatives, hedge accounting, fair value hedge, cash hedge. All that is going to be discussed as part of Ind AS 109, which is on financial instruments. Then lease in 116, Ind AS 116 on lease. Again, a very significant standard, and has been of lately much in use because there have been substantial changes in the standard. So that is what we're going to cover as to how the leases are to be accounted for in the books of the lessee as well as in the books of the lessor. Then you have Ind AS 115, which has come in place of Ind AS 18, which was on revenue recognition. So now that Ind AS 18 has gone, Ind AS 115 has come, revenue from the contract with the customer, which again it talks about the situations when the revenues are to be recorded based on the contract with the customer in the books of the company. Right. So now we shift to the last one, that is consolidation. As you can see here, all the standards are with regard to the consolidation, or with regard to the preparation of the financial statements. So you have Ind AS 27 that talks about separate financial statements. So you may have a company which has got subsidiaries, which has got joint ventures, so this company has to prepare consolidated financial statements, and besides making consolidated financial statements, this company also has to prepare standalone financial statements, so which is separate financial statements. So how a company will prepare separate financial statements, what standards are to be followed? Ind AS 27 would talk about that. Then you go to Ind AS 28, which is investments in associates and joint ventures. So how today, as we know, the businesses are very complex. Unlike in the past, long time ago, business would be very simple. Not anymore. Today, a business will have multiple transactions, multiple activities, multiple ownership. A company would have a holding company will have subsidiary, it will have investment in joint venture, it will have investment in associates, and so on and so forth. So Ind AS 28 talks about how the investments in associates and joint venture is to be recorded in the books of the company. And that's your yeah, Rishikesh, I can see you on the screen. Do you have any question? Any question, Rishikesh? Okay. Since I saw you on the screen, so I thought maybe there is some. Okay. By the way, any question from anyone? Yeah, I know, I can understand, but the problem is, we tried by as much as possible, but somehow I don't know why it did not happen. So maybe tomorrow in the morning we will take a trial once again and find out as to what went wrong. But I think it's always better that they are able to see me, because जब वो मुझे देख सकते हैं तो ज़्यादा better होता है. But I don't know. So okay. Yeah, you are visible, but I don't know why. Okay, let me try once again. So since yeah, after this lecture. Okay, so then you have Ind AS 101, which is on first time adoption of Ind AS. As the name suggests, Ind AS 101 will be applicable for a company only one time in its lifetime, and that is first time when the company is adopting the Ind AS. Then you got Ind AS 103, which is on business combination. So all the accounting of merger, amalgamation will be part of Ind AS 103. So today there's something called purchase price allocation. So when you are acquiring a company and you are paying a price for this company, how do you record these assets in your books? It is quite possible that the amount that you are paying to the company is much more than the fair value of the asset that you are getting. So how do you record this difference? That Ind AS 103 will talk about and will give us an idea. IFRS 104 is about the insurance contracts. Ind AS 105 is on non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. So what is this? Let me tell you, friends. Non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations. So इसका मतलब क्या है? अब ध्यान से, इसका मतलब ये है कि हो सकता है कि आपकी कंपनी के 15 यूनिट्स हैं. फॉर सम रीज़न आपकी कंपनी डिसाइड करती है कि इसमें से 3 यूनिट्स को बंद करना है. द बोर्ड हैज़ टेकन अ डिसीजन, the shareholders have given the approval, the 3 units are to be closed. Now Since these three units are going to be closed, it will be incorrect to show income from these three units as your regular income. It will be incorrect to show assets of these three units combined with the other assets in your books. Why? Because reader of your accounts will not be able to understand. So Ind AS 105, which is on non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations, tells what? ये कहता है कि अगर एक बिजनेस ने डिसाइड किया है कि certain businesses are going to be sold off. So once a decision is taken that these are to be sold off, these assets will not be shown together with the other fixed assets of the company in the balance sheet. These assets and the corresponding liabilities of these assets will need to be shown in the balance sheet as a separate line item. So that means it will be non-current assets held for sale and discontinued operations और non-current liabilities held for sale and discontinued operations. तो इसका लॉजिक आई एम श्योर आप समझ गए होंगे. इसका लॉजिक ये है कि भाई ये बिजनेस बंद होने वाला है, तो ये बिजनेस बंद होने वाला है तो ये हमारे रीडर को समझ में आ जाए कि अगले साल या अगले से अगले साल जब ये बिजनेस बिक जाएंगे तो जो कंपनी की एसेट्स हैं इतनी नहीं दिखाई देंगी जितनी कि अभी दिखाई देती हैं. Then of course you have Ind AS 1110 which is on consolidated financial statements. तो सीधी सी बात है, टाटा मोटर्स है, टाटा मोटर्स की इतनी सारी सब्सिडियरीज़ हैं, रिलायंस इंडस्ट्रीज़ है, रिलायंस की इतनी सारी इंडस्ट्रीज़ हैं, आर्सलॉर मित्तल है, आर्सलॉर मित्तल हैज़ गॉट सो मेनी जॉइंट वेंचर्स, so many subsidiaries, so many associates all over the world. तो अगर आर्सलॉर मित्तल की या रिलायंस की या टाटास की अगर आपको फाइनेंशियल्स एनालाइज करने हो तो it will be incorrect to do the analysis of ArcelorMittal only by looking at the books of the ArcelorMittal standalone or Reliance Industries standalone or Tata Motors standalone. What you will need to do, you will need to look at the accounts of these companies which are consolidated. Meaning what? Meaning the accounts of this company will make sense to you only when the results, when the financial position of all the joint ventures, subsidiaries and associates are also combined together with the main company, and that is your consolidated financial statements. So Ind AS 110 talks about the how to do the consolidation. Of course, friends, in real life situation, the system will do it. So today you will have the softwares where you feed all the information into the software, press a button, and the accounts will be consolidated within a jiffy, within a second. But as a student, as a professional, we need to understand as to what is the process of the consolidation of financial statements, and that is what we are going to understand under Ind AS 110. Ind AS 111 is on joint ventures, as you can understand. So how do you do the accounting of joint ventures in your books? That is what this Ind AS is going to cover. Ind AS 112 is about disclosure of interest in other entities. When I was looking at the syllabus of your exam, I did not find this as part of the syllabus, but I can see that this is relevant. Disclosure of interest in other entities. So it is not that a company will have only subsidiaries. It is not that the company will have only joint ventures. It's not that the company will have only associates. Other than this, there may be some other interest also a company may have in other entities, and those interests will need to be reflected in the books of the company. So Ind AS 112 would talk about the disclosure of interest in other entities. Then of course you have Ind AS 114, which is regulatory deferral payments. Is, as I understand, is not applicable as yet. But this is how it is. So friends, what I have tried to do today, give you a complete roadmap of all the indices which are part of your syllabus. Uh, I'm sure with this discussion that we have had for last 1.5 hour, you must be clear completely about each and every standard accounting standard that we are going to cover, and I'm sure this is definitely going to help you when we come tomorrow onwards, one by one, covering each of these indices. So friends, with this for today, I am uh, completing the agenda of mine. As usual, in case if you have any question, you can please pass on your question to Rishikesh. And Rishikesh, incidentally, I'm sure you would have received certain questions, so you can please ask me. And if there are no questions, we will sign off as always. Okay. Yeah, correct. Uh huh. Okay, so thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Rishikesh. We will try and sort it out this video issue for tomorrow. I can understand because it is always good to have the uh, picture of the presenter in front of you, because then you are able to connect better. So what we would do is we would check it, Rishikesh. We'll sort it out. I think this should not be a problem because it was working well quite yesterday. So it has to work. It has to work well. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Take care. Stay home. Stay safe, and encourage everybody to stay home. Stay safe. The only way to escape Corona is to be at home and use your time well. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow, same time, 8:30. Thank you. Good night. Good night, Rishikesh. Q.